Hello YouTube, and thank you so much for tuning into my channel. My name is Christabel and I am the original Power Ranger princess. So in this video, I wanted to talk about being stealth. And for those that don't know, what that basically means is when you are a woman of trans experience and people don't know that you were genetically born male. It means that people at your work, people that you interact with just in day-to-day life, they don't know that you were genetically born male. I'd even go as far as saying that some people want to be so stuffed that they don't even tell their partners. I'll get into my opinion. I'll get into my very, very strong opinions on that. But that's what stuff means. It basically means that the world does not know your past. Look, when I started my journey, I definitely wanted to pass. I wanted to be read as female all of the time. I never wanted to be misgendered. It would make me so anxious and so insecure when people misgendered me. I mean, I would go out to nightclubs, and if somebody dared misgender me or said something about me being trans, it would ruin my whole night. It would literally ruin my whole night, and I couldn't enjoy myself. I remember feeling so insecure in college, looking at other girls and obviously genetic girls, looking at other girls and thinking like, they have everything that I want. All I want is to just be accepted as a woman by society. Now, I started taking hormones and my body started changing, my body started developing, and I never realized that there were blessings to being a non-passable trans woman. I never realized that being passable is not all that it's cracked up to be. So for me, I never necessarily wanted to be stuffed because I've always been proud of my journey. I've always been proud of the fact that I had enough courage to make the decision to transition. So I never wanted to get into a point in my life where I was embarrassed or ashamed. I never wanted to destroy old pictures. I was always vocal about who I was. So there was never a lie there. You know what I mean? I just wanted people to treat me as a woman and to respect me as a woman and to respect me in my womanhood. You know what I mean? But I started being read as female more and more and more after I started my hormone treatment. Now, after 6 months to a year, I can solidly say that I went from passing maybe 30% of the time to passing 80% of the time, 80 to 90% of the time. When I interact with people, they just think I'm a regular schmegular genetic girl or a regular schmegular girl. That doesn't mean that I don't see that I have some masculine features, and it doesn't mean that I think I'm the best thing since sliced bread. It just means now when I move into the world, you're almost not that noticeable, if that makes sense. And it's a crazy thing because when I started my job, this new job, I suddenly was in a space where nobody knew about my tea. No one had any history of who I was, and everybody just started treating me as female. Everybody just started treating me as though I were a genetic female. And I cannot express to you in words how that makes you feel as a person. You almost feel like you've accomplished something. You feel like you've arrived. When you get into a place, whether it's a school or a building or wherever, and everybody is using the correct pronouns, everybody is respecting you as a woman, everybody is celebrating your femininity, it literally, it just makes you feel like you've arrived, and it makes you feel so good inside. But at the same time, for me and for a lot of my other friends who now are only starting to pass, there's this fear and this anxiety. And it's crazy because I never had this fear and I've never had this anxiety before. But there's this fear that I'm going to get caught out. That somebody's going to go on my Facebook, somebody's going to go on my Instagram. Somehow, someone will find out. And that respect that I was given at work, that respect that I was given by all of these people is going to be yanked out from under me. And I think that's the biggest problem with being stuffed. That's the biggest problem with not wanting people to know about the tea. Look, I'll be honest, in my own life, I don't want everybody to know about my tea because I feel like, number one, it's not anyone's business really. I am open and honest about who I am, but I don't think that it's anyone's business what I have going, in between my legs. But at the same time, like, I don't want to feel like I have this massive secret. I don't want to feel like I have this massive secret and that at any point I can be exposed, aka Nikki Tutorials. I don't want to feel like I can be exposed by someone. I don't like the feeling of walking into a space and feeling like I have to be careful that I don't say the wrong thing, or I have to watch myself when I laugh, or I need to just be mindful of how I interact, because there's fear that I'm going to do something that's going to make these people clock me. It's horrible. And sometimes, when you're talking to someone, and I have this fear a lot, if I'm talking to someone, I start to get really nervous when they're staring at me, because I'm like, they're going to stare, they're going to stare, they're going to stare until they realize that I'm trans. And I've come out to, like 4 of my friends at work. 4 of my friends know about my tea. And I had assumed they already knew. They didn't grow. No one is that invested in anyone's life. So the whole idea of being stealthed for me just feels like a lot of work. It feels like a lot of work. Like, I've even talked to guys and interacted with guys who didn't know that I was trans. I actually went on a date. Oh my God, I never thought I would tell this story, but I went on a date with a guy, and he was a black guy, very, very sweet. I met him at church. So you already know I'm not about to tell him my tea. I met him at church, and it's this mega church that I used to go to. And he started talking to me. He was very friendly, just very genuine, and he asked for my number. And I sort of gave it to him with the intention of ghosting him. But, we got to talking, and he was just very sweet and very genuine. And he said, hey, look, he'd love to talk to me face to face. Maybe we can have lunch. Maybe we can have like drinks. No pressure, just as friends. And there was something about how sweet he was, and just that attention I was getting, girl. When they talk to you in that way and you're just kind of like, wow, like I'm getting into my feels. So my dumbass goes on a date with this boy, and he doesn't know my tea. That being said, I'm at a point in my life where the first date, I don't necessarily tell people my tea. I want to first gauge the person and get to know them. And then if there's a second date, if the person is interested in talking to me again, that's when I sort of drop it and say, hey, look, you need to know a little bit more about me. Because I just feel like the first date, it's a lot to put out on someone just from the word, you know what I mean? But I went on a date with this guy and we started talking, and he was just the sweetest person. And there was this feeling of sadness, like whether it was guilt, whether it was sadness, there was just this unsettled feeling just within me, because I knew that I could not let him get to know me. Like he just couldn't get to know me any better. It had to stop at this first date. So we, after our drinks, we went back to church and we were holding hands, and oh my gosh, it was so sweet. It was so sweet. And he told me how happy he was he got to spend time with me and how happy I made him. And it's when he said that I realized I needed to pull myself back. I wasn't in a position at that time, especially not with my confidence back then, where I could have just told him after the date. I kind of felt like the memory of our first date was so good that I didn't want to taint it with what would happen after I disclosed the fact that I was trans. Because you know how these guys get. Suddenly they want to sexualize you, or suddenly they hate you. So I just ghosted him, and sometimes I'll think about him and I think, was that really fair of me? But it goes back to this whole thing of being stealth, because when you're stealthed and when you're starting to pass, you get pulled into scenarios where people don't know that you're transgender. Guys at bars hit on you, people talk to you, you start becoming friends with people, and then 3 weeks down the line, you have all these solid friendships, but they don't know something so big about you. And there's this fear that sits in your stomach because you're just kind of like, shit. What if I disclose this and this person rejects me, or I start getting treated badly, or you know what I mean? Putting out something so freaking vulnerable. So to the girls who actively go out and want to be stealthed and try to keep it a secret and burn their pictures and specifically go to jobs where they only hire genetic women, y'all are brave. Y'all are brave, because I love being who I am. I love living in my truth. But just those interactions, some of those interactions, and it makes me think that, part of one of the blessings that I had when I didn't pass was everybody knew my tea. I didn't have to worry about disclosing because people already knew from the word jump that I was genetically born male. You know what I mean? I never had to explain myself in that way that I feel like I have to explain myself now. And also, one other blessing that I never realized that I had was girls were never intimidated by me before I transitioned. They never saw me as a threat. They just saw me as no hate, no shade, but they saw me as a little gay boy in a wig. That's what they saw, honestly. And they were, they would sissify you and be like, yeah, queen, yeah, you know how they do. And then they talk all funny and they're like, oh, this is what they do. They're like, girl, you are so pretty. And you're just kind of like, why are you talking like that? And why are you making that face? And they're like, you're so cute, girl. And who did your makeup? Oh my God, we should be. girl, and then they go behind your back and they want to talk shit about you. But they didn't see me as a threat necessarily. I think they thought it was funny. They thought it was a joke. But when I started being a red female and when I started looking better and better, I just noticed all these comments from my female friends. Like, your boobs look fake. Your butt's too big. And just all these nasty comments. And when somebody would say that I was pretty, girls just seemed to get into their feelings. And I never had that before when I did in the past. So being stuffed is not all that it's made out to be. Hell, being red as female isn't always a blessing. This whole trans thing will always just be a journey, and it's a combination of different things. And I know sitting behind the screen or watching me now, some of you might think that, as soon as I get my boobs or as soon as I can feminize my face, my life is going to be so much better. Your life is going to be your life, regardless of the fact. I will admit that it does get better as you start to pass. But just remember that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So you don't have to rush yourself trying to get to stealth mode. You don't have to not live your life just because you don't pass 100% of the time. And when you do get to the other side of the road, when you do start to pass, I would just encourage you to be honest. It's something that I'm trying to do more and more. Be honest, but also be careful. Be honest and be careful, girl. Dating guys and getting into relationships with guys and not telling them your tea is only going to get you in trouble. I don't want to see you as a newsfeed. Let's be safe, girls. Take care of yourself. I love you. Peace, love, and many blessings.